Zurich Irish Rugby Players Awards will take place on Wednesday the 16th of May at the Clayton Hotel in Ballsbridge. Here's how we get on with Keith. All right, I'd like to say thanks very much to Keith Earls for coming in. Keith, in the aftermath of defeat, it's very hard to face the media, particularly when, it hasn't gone as well as you might have done. So thanks for coming in and not phoning in sick today. I'm sure the temptation was pretty high.
Yeah, it was. Could have stayed in bed all day, or could have hung out with my kids for the day, but look, it's all part of it.
It was interesting. As soon as we heard that you were coming in, the thing that struck me the most was not the brilliant form that you're in or the amazing recovery from injury or the season that you're having on a personal level, but just that one comment in the middle of the Six Nations where you talked about having perspective and how when you have kids you watch what's going on in Syria and all of a sudden this is a match, I can relax, I'm going to be fine, it's just a game. When did that happen for you? When did you begin to be able to access that type of, as you say, perspective and use it as something that's beneficial for all of us in the real world?
Yeah, I suppose it was, I've said it before, it was probably Axel's passing, and I suppose seeing what he went through with that season. Was it 2016? We had a very bad season and we were underperforming, and he would have got a brunt of it. And I suppose leading up to his passing, it probably wasn't a nice year for him and his family. And when you see what people were saying about him and what they were saying about us as a team, and then when he passed, rugby became irrelevant. It didn't really matter, and suddenly people were, they were probably guilty about some of the things they said. But look, I thought that man was invincible. Everything worked out for him. He'd a great rugby career. He'd a beautiful wife and kids, and all of a sudden he's not there. And for me at home, I probably would have been a bit too obsessed with rugby and not enjoying my kids or my wife. And I suppose that's what I'm leaning towards now, is enjoying them rather than and it obviously makes it a bit easier with rugby, and obviously yesterday's defeat, it hurts and it's frustrating, and we'll have a look at it, and we're sick of losing, but I suppose now I've learnt that, look, I'm waking up next to my wife and my kids, and so that helps a small bit.
Yeah, it's funny how so many people talk about going through these life experiences, to actually be able to bring it into your day-to-day and it not to be overbearing, to live with it in a way that's normal, or to kind of to be able to access it when you need to. Is that something that required work, or is it just immediately from that, was it just a switch gets flicked and you're like, okay, I'm never going back to that because there's no point?
Yeah, no, it was immediately, and it's something that you have to work on then as well, like working on, I suppose, your pattern, your thought and negativity and some of the things that annoy you and get you down, and they're only small things. And if something doesn't work at home and you freak out, or something's cancelled and you freak out, it's not the worst thing that's going on in the world, really, and I'm living a great life, and all my teammates are living a great life, and we get to do what we love. There's loads of ups and downs, but when you put so much into rugby and you keep coming up short, it can be frustrating, and something we're going to have a look at, as a team.
Yeah, and I've no doubt you will. It's clear that there's the brain power and the intention to do it. Just to go back to the Syria comment, it's funny how the bubble is the thing that gets referred to in a lot of instances in those press conferences. We're just in the bubble, we're in the environment, whatever. But clearly you aren't always in the bubble, in the environment. You are watching the news and you are being affected by what's going on. Is that just who you are anyway? Is that what you've always been like? Were you always into that, watching the news and keeping abreast of stuff? Or again, is this kind of, as a parent, there are certain images that you can't unsee?
Yeah, I suppose when I became a parent first, when my daughter was born and she had a respiratory condition, and that's another thing that put things in perspective. That everyone was gearing up for the Six Nations, and it was the most important thing ever. And I was sitting in a hospital in Limerick and then in Dublin with my little baby girl, you know, and then, you know, when you see some of the kids in Syria full of dust after being bombed and stuff, and then you think about your own kids and you think about the life they're having, and, you know, I think a lot of us can do with having a look at that and learning from that. You know, I think we're quite lucky. You know, we live in a beautiful country. It's, you know, we give out about the weather, but when you look at things, you know, I know there's a lot of homeless people, but when you look at the safety between terrorist attacks and everything that's going on, you know, I think we're quite blessed.
Yeah, so it's important not to just be in the bubble the whole time and actually get that sense of perspective.
Yeah, and that's something I'm trying to do. And obviously I'm 30 now, and hopefully there's another couple of years in me. Like, I try and connect with the real world a small bit now as well.
Yeah, like, you're playing the best rugby of your life, though. Is that fair to say? Do you feel that way?
I'm enjoying it. That's, you know, that's the main thing. You know, it probably is a season that has been riddled with one or two injuries. I had my groin injury in the summer, hamstring in November, and my knee in the last couple of weeks. A couple of years ago it would have been a disaster of a season, but I suppose I'm looking after myself and I'm not losing too much fitness when I get injured, and, you know, I suppose I don't have a lot of ring rust when I get back.
Why is that? Why are you better at doing that now than you would have been, say, when you were 20 or 21?
Because I think I'm more professional now. I'm looking after myself more. A couple of years ago when I got injured, I probably would have took the foot off the pedal, whereas now I ramp it up. You know, I try and find whatever it takes to get back that week early, which I did yesterday, like, you know. Why
did the penny drop on that? When did you decide, actually, I need to be more professional?
I suppose when things weren't working out for me, you know, as I said in interviews during Six Nations, I just thought my talent alone would get me there, but, you know, I probably didn't have the top 2 inches right, and, you know, thankfully I've trained that now, and I'm looking after myself a bit more. And
there was one other really interesting thing from the Six Nations that you were talking about. It was, you mentioned Keith Barry. Here's a clip. Let's want to play you this. You can stick your earphones in for this one.
Well, I've obviously been relaxing a bit as well, and as I'm getting older now, I'm trying to find out the 1% between diet and stuff, and I suppose the psychology side of things as well, and the visualisation. I've been working a bit with Keith Barry as well, so you know, just trying to get them 1%, which seems to be working.
And what's Keith been able to do?
Look, I don't want to get into detail. We just, you know, he knows the brain better than anyone, and just in terms of visualisation and stuff like that. But as I said, it's down to everything between diet, looking after myself, having the balance of family life and work, and obviously the working on the mental side with him, and obviously Enda's here as well, you know, working with him, you know, and combining it all together.
Does Keith Barry work, I suppose, can you not?
I think it's bits and pieces. Look, I don't want to. I don't know if Keith's comfortable with me saying that, so I don't want to get into detail about it. But it's something I really enjoy working with him.
Again, a kind of sign of the maturity that you're at this stage of your career, where you're happy to go and seek help from an outside agency and not just rely on yourself.
Yeah, and I suppose I would have learned that from Paul O'Connell as well. You know, he was always obsessed about getting the 1% as well, you know, and, you know, seeing how hard he worked and what he's achieved, and some of the things I see him work on, and it's happening for him on the field. And, you know, the mental side of things in sports is huge, you know, and as I said, I probably lacked that a small bit when I was younger.
And did you check with Keith? Are you happy to talk about it now, or is that still something that you're going to want to keep?
Yeah, like I've met Keith a few times. He doesn't hypnotise me or anything like that, you know. It's just I suppose working with Enda McNulty as well, I didn't, you know, we spoke about visualisation, but I didn't actually know how to do it, and met Keith in camp one day, and
was he just there kind of, as you guys get guests in all the time, and so you just had a chat with him afterwards? You didn't seek him out?
Yeah, no, he obviously he was in during the World Cup as well, and he was in November or something like that, and some comment he made and I picked up on it, and I went to our manager and asked could I get his number and have a chat with him and what he thinks, and he made visualising a lot easier for me. We go through scenarios about the game the weekend. He kind of first is about relaxing, and then...
Do you ever think how different life would be if your 30-year-old self could tap your 21-year-old self on the shoulder and go, here, listen, there's a few things, I just want to sit you down for 5 minutes here and go through a few bits and pieces? Or did you have to discover them yourself anyway?
Yeah, no, it's like obviously I had to discover, but I wish...
You wouldn't mind having that chat?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having that chat with myself now when I was 21, and look, for any young lad there, you think, there's always going to be next year, or maybe next year I'll try it, but look, it has taken me 10 years to win something that I'm very proud of. Obviously, I've won the Magners and that with Munster, but to achieve something that isn't done so often.
Yeah.
That was massive, and I suppose I regret taking other stuff for granted. The
circuitous route to get there, but it's a Grand Slam that you're a key part of as well. There's no, you're not a bit part player. You're definitely one of the first names on the team sheet, and you're having an impact in every game. I think one of the memories that sticks out for everybody is the Italy game where a lost cause gets chased down, and from a defensive perspective, do you remember that? Do you remember what's going through your head when you're chasing down the Italian who's streaking away to score at the end of a game where it doesn't look like it's going to matter, but the whole crowd still is like, ah.
Yeah, I suppose it's not wanting to give up, and you just don't know. You see Jamie Heaslip's tackle on Stuart Hogg 2 years before that, I think, and that wins a championship for Ireland, and if it had gone down, that's what I was thinking. If could easily left him go in the corner, I was going to chase him whether I caught him or not, to get him to score in the corner. I think Kieran Reid done it to Ireland in 2013. It was the Cairns he chased down, and that was the difference of winning. But I think it's just about habits. We try and teach ourselves good habits and to never give up, and I think that's all Irish people care about is giving it your all, and if you can give it your all, you can look yourself in the mirror as well after a game.
One last thing, the role of the winger in Irish rugby seems to have changed a little bit even over the last couple of years. There was a period there where we were largely kicking the ball and using the skill set that we had, which, if you've got Tommy Bowe at 6'4" and a brilliant fielder, you might kick the ball to Tommy Bowe at 6'4" and a brilliant fielder. But it seems that the evolution in the style of play has certainly helped players like you and even Andrew Conway, and we see now with somebody like Jordan Larmour who aren't 6'4", that we're not just going to be a kicking team, but we're going to, and if we are a kicking team, you guys are obviously all brilliant in the air, but that fundamentally we're going to mix it up and keep the opposition guessing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's trying to become the all-rounder player and not be good at just one thing. I think teams, it's getting better and better, defences are getting better, attacks getting better, and you just need to keep teams guessing, and as you said there, what's the point in kicking the ball to someone who can't catch it or who isn't used to going up in the air, or if a winger needs to hit a ruck to keep someone else free, and I suppose that's what it's about, and it's actually a great feeling as well if you can be good at all different aspects of the game. Yeah,
enjoyable to play in the team at the moment, in the Ireland team?
Yeah, it's great, and enjoyable playing Munster and Ireland at the moment. Obviously, yes, there was what's extremely disappointing, but yeah, Ireland were on a high. I'm loving rugby, and I suppose it's something I didn't do years ago either, was enjoy it, and I'm relishing the big games, and I just want to be in more and more big games and test myself and put myself under pressure,
Well, there's plenty more to come, Keith. Great stuff. Thanks very much.
Cheers, thank you.